Did Coach Pough just say that the 2023 version of Jackson State will be better than the team he played in the HBCU National Championship game, the Celebration Bowl back in 2021? Let's talk about it. What he means. Is it gamesmanship? All ahead of the Week 0 matchup in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. After the bumper, stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsYJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, because we upload all the time. And I know I've been gone for a while. My life been kind of hectic a little bit, but I'm back because the football season is back this week. We kick off everything in my mind anyway with the SWAC MEAC Challenge Week 0. There's a bunch of other games during Week 0, but those games are null and void. The only one that even somewhat means anything is USC versus San Jose State, which will be a blowout, but it's because Caleb Williams won the Heisman. Besides that, the only game that matters is the SWAC MEAC Challenge Week 0 in Atlanta. The season for both the SWAC and the MEAC start in Atlanta, and it will end in Atlanta in December. But we kick off the college football season with the SWAC MEAC Challenge, and it is a rematch of said Celebration Bowl back in 2021. And if you remember, it was Coach Prime's first year at Jackson State. The Tigers went into the 2021 Celebration Bowl heavy favorites over Buddy Pough in the South Carolina State Bulldogs. And in that game, Buddy Pough and South Carolina State went to work on Jackson State, winning that one 31-10 in blowout fashion. Now this year, there's Buddy Pough still there, 20 years running, trying to bounce back from a disappointing 22 season after winning the national championship in 2021. They had a disappointing 3-8 season in 2022. Jackson State obviously went 12-1, but that one loss being in the Celebration Bowl. Wholesale changes in the Tigers program. It's been well documented. No need to state it. And now it's the TC Taylor show over at Jackson State, and they will take on Coach Pough, who's revamped his roster. His quarterback, Corey Fields Jr., is another year older, and they're looking to play another instant classic in Atlanta for the SWAC MEAC Challenge. Now, we know the MEAC has dominated both games. They've dominated Celebration Bowl 6-1, and they've dominated the SWAC MEAC Challenge. I think they're 11-4 in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. JSU looking to get that fifth win, knowing last year that Alabama State was able to get a win over Howard. Now, a couple of days ago, I guess at this point, Coach Pough and TC Taylor are doing promotion to promote the game. It's Week 0. It's the first. It kicks off the college football season. It's a big thing. They're doing, promotion on their own, and then they've done promotion together. And in this, I just want to call it what it's called. It's called the classroom session. I don't know who was by. I apologize for not knowing who put this on, but there was a clip of about 50 seconds of Coach Pough from this interview during what is called the classroom session with TC Taylor, where he spoke about TC Taylor in high regard and this year's Jackson State team. I'm not going to hold you. The clip was posted by Brandy. Shout out to Brandy. She's fan of the show, friend of the show. And this is what he had to say. And let's just play it that way. We don't mess around. So this was Coach Buddy Pough talking about TC Taylor and Jackson State ahead of their matchup Week 0 in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. Let's take a listen.
We going to the game this past, I guess maybe 2021 year, thinking that we might not be able to match up with Jackson State, and a little bit afraid of the outcome possibly. And I think we found out that we could at least play with them. We felt really good about how things went as the game went on. But this TC Taylor team right now will be a better football team than that football team. Will be a much better team, and we've had some experience against him in the past, and it concerns us that we hadn't done all that well against the teams that he's been a part of in the past. So it'll be a tough game for us. We know that they'll get after us in ways that team didn't, and we just look forward to seeing if we can get in there. We going to.
Ooh, okay. He said this TC Taylor team will be a much better team than the one we faced in 2021. Now, there is multiple ways you can attack this. These statements, and it's just 50 seconds, and it's not even his full statement. It's just a 50-second clip of what I'm assuming is a several minutes long interview between Coach Buddy Pough, TC Taylor, and who conducted this promotion. But that was telling. That was telling. Now, to give you some context to what he's talking about, for those who don't know, TC Taylor coached at North Carolina Central, which is also obviously in the MEAC. During his days as the offensive coordinator / on the North Carolina Central staff, TC Taylor in the Eagles, North Carolina Central Eagles, went 3-0 against South Carolina State. It's telling. So 3-0. So that is where he means like, we haven't had the success that we've hoped to have against TC Taylor. Another thing that you can take from that is that TC Taylor, unlike back in 2021, no, TC Taylor was on the coaching staff. And it's one thing to be on a coaching staff on a team. It's another thing to be the head guy. It's one thing to be on a coaching staff and have a voice in the room. It's another thing being your voice means the most. It's one thing to be a part of a staff and telling them about a team, about a coach, about certain players that they may or may not have seen before, or a style of football that they may or may not have seen before. And then obviously playing against that style, having success against that style, having success against that program, having success against said coach. There's total differences there. And TC Taylor back in 2021 was in one boat, and now he's in a different boat. Now, obviously, the players have changed. The names on the back of the jerseys have changed. Coaches have come and gone, all different things for both programs since 2021. But at the end of the day, the game is still football. And with Buddy Pough being there for 20 years, I mean, we're talking about a 20-year tenured Hall of Fame type of career. TC Taylor understands what to expect. Now, you can try to convey that as best you can when you're an assistant on the 2021 team, but sometimes it gets across, and maybe it got across. I don't know, but the results didn't show that it got across. You get beat 31-10 when you're the heavy favorites. Maybe you were smelling yourself too much. Maybe you got too cocky. Maybe, there's a multitude of factors that may have went in there. Travis had just committed. Maybe you were riding too high on that commitment. Like it's a ton of things that went into that 2021 game, and it just all went bad for JSU. This 2023 game, it's different. It's not the ending of the season. It's to start the season. This is not, a team that's riding real high. This is a team that a lot of people don't believe will be as good as they've been the previous couple of years. And so you're taking all of that into account. This is a team that after winning back-to-back SWAC championships, representing the SWAC in the Celebration Bowl back-to-back years, only had one guy preseason voted to any SWAC team. One. First team anyway. And so that is what Buddy Pough understands. He's not a dumb guy. He's a very, very intelligent man, a very, very smart coach, and understands that, they're playing for a lot over there. Now, obviously, South Carolina State's playing for a lot too, but they're under a microscope over there that just most teams in HBCU just won't be. Jackson State's under a certain microscope to see what they will do post-prime. FAMU's under a microscope to see if they can actually win the whole thing this year. Southern's under a microscope. Can they rise to the top and really take over? The MEAC, one, kind of flies under the radar anyway, until they play SWAC teams, and then typically they have a lot of success against SWAC teams. Call it, for whatever reason, the MEAC just flies under the radar. So that same microscope isn't being held to South Carolina State. What is being held to them, though, internally, is that they went 3-8 last year. He understands that, we cannot have another. I mean, talk about there's disappointing seasons and then there's atrocious seasons. Coming off winning an HBCU national championship to go 3-8, that's atrocious. Like that's not what they stand for. And they vow to make that up. They vow to say that last year was a fluke. They vow to be like, we are a lot better team than that team was. And we're going to prove it starting week 0. But it was super, super interesting to hear their veteran 20-year coach say, this team we're going to play on Saturday is better than the one we saw in 2021. We're preparing as if it's a better one than the one we saw in 2021. And he had very, very high praise for Coach TC Taylor. Now, you have to have high praise for the amount of talent that they were able to bring in. Obviously, they lost a lot of talent, but they brought in a ton of talent. That is going to show up on tape. You also have high praise for that coach who you faced before, not as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, but as a guy who's been able to lead offenses that were successful in this style of game, in games previous. Now, what I also thought is, staying on this topic of the SWAC MEAC challenge, I want to show you something from Mr. Gerald Huggins of HBCU Nightly, draft HBCU players. Gerald is a scout. He's a football coach. He does a lot. Now, I saw this tweet and thought it was very, very interesting because just because Gerald tweeted it, and Gerald's a smart guy, and Gerald knows a lot about football. Now, obviously, we're all building this up. Videos like this, different people will have different previews. This is not really a preview. This is just based off, really taking into account how you feel about what Coach Pough said. I thought it was interesting. And, he knows more about football than me. And for him to say that this year's team is better than the 2021 team is significant. Whether you think it's gamesmanship or not, it is still significant because he didn't have to say it. Didn't nobody force him to say that. But what I also thought was interesting was this tweet put out there by Gerald. Gerald says, quote, expectations for the MEAC SWAC challenge should be tempered, meaning you should lower them, meaning you shouldn't get so excited about what is going to take place. He goes on to say, I'd be shocked. I was shocked by him putting this out there, to see more than 4 total touchdowns scored. Meaning, think about this. Gerald doesn't believe between the two teams, based off what he's seen on tape. Now, I'm not someone who breaks down tape. I just watch the games and tell you what I saw. I don't go back and break down tape. I watch the games, tell you what I saw. But he goes and watch tape, both of the teams, players on the teams, and then those players at their previous schools. So he watches real tape. He says, based on the tape he's seen, he'd be shocked to see 4 total touchdowns. Now, just put this into perspective. If one team scores 4 touchdowns, and let's say they get the extra points, it's only 28 points. It's only 28 points. If one team scores 4 touchdowns, it's only 28 points. Now, obviously, you can score more ways than just touchdowns. You can get safeties, you can kick field goals, you can do 2-point conversions, all kinds of ways to score points. But he doesn't think between these two teams, they will have more than 4 touchdowns. That says a lot. That says a lot based on the offenses he's watched on tape. Why this says a lot? Well, it says a lot for a number of reasons. One, we know South Carolina State's bread and butter throughout the duration of Buddy Pough's time at South Carolina State has been, their calling card has been their defense. Like, they sent all pros to the NFL. That's not an exaggeration. Like, they literally have multiple all pros from the different defenses he has coached at South Carolina State, and other guys that have been drafted and have made, significant plays and are starters in the NFL. Not just what they did at South Carolina State, like literally in the NFL. Javon Hargraves is an all pro. Darius Leonard was an all pro. Jacoby Durant is a starter, significant player for the Los Angeles Rams. So defense, them holding people to low scores. In that 2021 game, we keep referencing, they held Jackson State, the high-powered Shedeur Sanders offense. They held them to 10 points. 10 points. That's it. It's held them to 10 points. And so what he's seeing must be that South Carolina State, on brand for them, will have another really good defense. And whatever he's seeing, just based off the scheme, because you really haven't seen this JSU offense in a game as it's currently constructed. Hell, we don't even know technically who the starting quarterback is yet. As whatever he's seen, whether it's based off the spring tape, the offense that they'll be running, going back looking at TC Taylor offenses from the past or whatever, doesn't believe that there'll be 4 total touchdowns scored. Now, that doesn't mean he thinks it'll be, it doesn't necessarily mean he thinks it'll be, 10-7. But he does think it'll be low scoring. He doesn't think there'll be a ton of points, because if you only think there's 4 total touchdowns, there's only so many field goals you're going to kick. Only so many field goals that's going to be made. And so that is very significant. That is something to simmer. That is something to chew on as you prepare and get ready for this game. Now, I do think it's hard for him to say that. Now, you can base a lot on South Carolina State. Once again, their coach has been there forever. Their quarterback's been there for a long time. But they brought in some new players. So it's tough first game of the season to kind of make this prediction, especially for a JSU team that is completely new. Like, once again, we don't know who their starting quarterback is. We don't know who the starters on offense are for the most part. Like, there's like 3 guys that we know for a fact, 3 or 4 guys that we know for a fact that'll start on JSU. You've got Evan Henry at center, Rico Powers, Seven McGee somewhere, just those 3, and DJ Stevens at tight end. So it's about the only 4 players that we know for a fact will be starting, unless the coach has said something else somewhere else that I just maybe missed. So it's kind of hard, and you have an idea of what type of system they'll run with Coach Maurice Harris. You've seen what he's been able to do at Ole Miss. You've seen what he's been able to do at Liberty, but you haven't seen that on full display outside of the spring game. And there's only so much you can tell from a spring game, especially a spring game that was cold and wet. Once again, I was there. So I think it's tough for Gerald to make that prediction, but nonetheless, it's something to simmer on. Because whatever he's seen on tape made him believe what he tweeted out. So that is interesting. You've got so many storylines heading into this matchup ahead of week 0, ahead of the kickoff to the college football season. We'll do a deep dive preview later this week, but I did want to come on here and return because I've been gone for a while. My life's been pretty freaking hectic. But this is so great to have college football back, specifically the SWAC back for me. I love the SWAC. I love covering the SWAC. I love being able to be a part of these storylines. But Coach Pough saying that about Coach T.C. Taylor is high praise. And if Coach Pough, he didn't have to say that. Nobody forced him to say that about TC. Nobody forced him to say that about JSU. That's wholeheartedly, I think, what he believes. Now, what he also believes, even though he thinks they're better than 2021, he also believes he'll win that game, just like he won that game back in 2021. And that is why we get to play the games on the field and not here on the computer. This is going to be a must-see matchup. It is going to set the tone for both conferences this season. It's going to set the tone for the SWAC, how JSU looks, whether they look impressive or whether they look lackluster. It's going to set the tone for the MEAC, how South Carolina State looks, whether they look impressive or whether they look lackluster. And it's going to set the tone for the rest of the HBCU college football season. I cannot wait to see this all play out on the field. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Coach Buddy Pough with high praise for Coach T.C. Taylor and the Jackson State Tigers, but he also wants to go out there and rip their freaking heads off. What will happen? I guess we have to wait and see. My name is JeffLightsYJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and a notification bell because we upload all the time. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7, where we keep these conversations going. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.